Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. The 73 kinds of mundane and supramundane knowledge. The wisdom gained by listening attentively to the Dharma is knowledge based on what has been heard or learnt by hearing or reading. The wisdom gained by restraining oneself from misconduct by body, by speech, and thought after listening to the Dharma is knowledge based on virtue. The wisdom gained by concentrating one's mind after restraining oneself from misconduct is knowledge based on the development of concentration. The wisdom gained by discerning the continuality of ignorance of the 12 links of dependent origination is knowledge of the causal relationship of phenomenon. The wisdom gained by defining as impermanent suffering and non-self of the past, future, and present phenomenon of the 5 skandhas after summarizing them in 11 instances is knowledge of their comprehension. The wisdom gained by contemplating the change of presently arisen phenomenon of the 5 skandhas is knowledge of their contemplation of their rise and fall. The wisdom gained by contemplating the dissolution of the consciousness of knowledge after reflecting on the object of the 5 skandhas that also dissolve is knowledge of insight. The wisdom gained by the appearance of all formations as fearful is knowledge of their danger. The wisdom gained by being desirous of deliverance, by reflecting and by composing oneself is knowledge of the kinds of equanimity towards formations. The wisdom gained by emerging and turning away from the external is knowledge of the change of lineage. The wisdom gained by emerging and turning away from both the external and the internal is knowledge of their path. The wisdom gained by tranquilizing the effort is knowledge of their fruitation. The wisdom gained by contemplating the rounds of mental imperfections are cut off all the knowledge of deliverance. The wisdom gained by seeing the phenomenon of the wholesome states that appeared is knowledge of the reviewing. The wisdom gained by defining internally the ayatana, the sense bases, in the notes of the diversities of the bases. The wisdom gained by defining externally the visible optics, sounds, etc. is knowledge of the diversity of objective fields. The wisdom gained by defining mental behavior of consciousness, etc. is knowledge of the diversity of mental behaviors. The wisdom gained by defining the 4 states of existence is knowledge of the diversity of their planes of existence. The wisdom gained by defining 9 states of knowledge of the diversity of states. The wisdom gained by direct understanding of the nature of phenomenon is their knowledge of the known nature. The wisdom gained by full understanding of the general characteristics of phenomenon is knowledge of the investigating of their impermanence, etc. The wisdom gained by abandoning the perception of impermanence, etc. is knowledge of giving it up. The wisdom gained by developing the concentration of impermanence, etc. is knowledge of their single function. The wisdom gained by realizing the fruit of nibbana and the knowledge of experiencing them. The wisdom gained by discerning the different meanings of the dhammas here of the mental phenomenon that has arisen is knowledge of the discrimination of their meanings. The wisdom gained by discerning the different dharmas of mental phenomenon is knowledge of the discrimination of the dhammas. The wisdom gained by discerning the different linguistic expressions of dharmas of mental phenomenon and their meanings is knowledge of the discrimination of their linguistic expression. The wisdom gained by discerning their perspicacity with different meanings, mental phenomenon, and in linguistic expression is knowledge of discrimination by perspicacity. The wisdom gained by discerning the diversity of insights abiding is knowledge of the nature of insights abiding. The wisdom gained by discerning the diversity of fruitation of attainments is knowledge of the nature of fruitation and attainments. The wisdom gained by discerning the diversity of insight abidings and fruitation attainments is knowledge of the nature of insight abiding and fruitation attainments. The wisdom gained by cutting off all the mental crankers of asavats due to the purity of non-distraction is concentration, is knowledge of concentration with immediate results. The wisdom gained by predominance of seeing, by achieving a peaceful abiding, and by the resoluteness of sublime fruitation is knowledge of abiding without conflict. The wisdom gained by the mastery owing to the possession of 2 powers, tranquilization of 3 formation, 16 kinds of behavior of knowledge, 9 kinds of behaviors of concentration is knowledge of the attainment of sensation, nirodha. The wisdom gained by the termination of currents is one who is fully aware of knowledge of extinguishment. The wisdom gained by the complete cutting off of all the process of arisen phenomenon by their nirodha cessation and by the non-reappearance is knowledge of the simultation of pleasing on both ends. The wisdom gained by the separation, by differentiation and unity, and by the termination of power of immortality, etc., is knowledge of their effacement. The wisdom gained by exertion in those possessing of self-stirring and self-endeavor is knowledge of the application of energy. The wisdom gained by explaining different phenomenon is knowledge of the demonstrating their meanings. The wisdom gained by penetrating the incredibility of all phenomena as one and by differentiation and unity is knowledge of purification of seeing. The wisdom gained by what is being recognized is knowledge of approval. The wisdom gained by what is experienced is knowledge of fathoming. The wisdom gained by combining is knowledge of abiding in parts. The wisdom gained by what's given predominance is knowledge of turning away through perception. The wisdom gained by differentiating is knowledge of turning away by will. The wisdom gained by establishing one's mind is knowledge of turning away from one's mind. The wisdom gained by the contemplation of voidness is knowledge of turning away from knowledge from adherence. The wisdom gained by relinquishment is knowledge of turning away by liberation. The wisdom gained by the understanding of the nature of trueness of the Four Noble Truths is knowledge of turning away in the truth. The wisdom gained by the willpower of defining body and mind as one and of studying the perception of bliss and lightness is knowledge of the kinds of psychic power. The wisdom gained by fathoming and comprehending sound signs in their diversity and unity through the expansion of applied thought is knowledge of the purification of ear element. The wisdom gained by fathoming the behavior of others, consciousness in the diversity and unity through the sensitivity seen in the 6 physical faculties of the ayatanats due to the expansions of 3 kinds of types of their mind, its knowledge of the penetration of others' mind. The wisdom gained by fathoming continuality, occurrence, phenomenon through the expansion of karma is in the diversity and unity of knowledge of recollection of one's past lives. The wisdom gained by seeing signs of visible objects in the diversity and unity by means of illumination is knowledge of the divine eye. The wisdom gained by the mastery of the 3 supramundane or subconscious faculties in 64 aspects is knowledge of the exhaustion of mental crankers. This is the path to arihatship. The wisdom gained by fully understanding the fourfold nature of dukkha. This is the knowledge of dukkha. The wisdom gained by abandoning the 4 nature of dukkha. This is the knowledge of dukkha's origin. The wisdom gained by realizing the 4 nature of dukkha. This is the knowledge of dukkha sensation, nirodha. The wisdom gained by developing the 4 nature of the path. This is the knowledge of the path, magga. Knowledge of dukkha. Knowledge of samudaya. Knowledge of nirodha. Knowledge the way leading to the cessation of nirodha. Knowledge of the discrimination of meaning. Knowledge of the discrimination of phenomenon. Knowledge of the discrimination of linguistic expression. Knowledge of the discrimination by perspicacity. Knowledge of the penetration of the high and low spiritual faculties and dispositions of beings. Knowledge of the dispositions and underlying tendencies of beings. Knowledge of the twin miracle. Knowledge of the attainments of the great compassion, Mahakaruna, omniscient and unobstructed knowledge. These are the 73 kinds of conscious and superconscious, or mundane and supramundane knowledge, nana. 67 of the 73 kinds of knowledge are shared by the disciples. 6 kinds of these knowledge are not shared by them.